Alrighty, good morning. I'm Steve Weber, and I am the host of the American Gumption Morning Show. Just a minute or two late, or maybe 3 minutes late, getting in started this morning. And hey, another rookie mistake. I went and hit the. I started playing the. I started playing the music and the theme and started talking, and but I did not hit the go live button. So. As stupid is as stupid does, Mr. Gump. All righty. Well, anyway, here we are live now, and we're ready to go. Today is Wednesday, November 11th. It's Veterans Day in the United States. So my gratitude and honoring anyone who has served in our armed forces and people who have kept us free for the last 200 some years that we've been around. I have to think about what the number is, 250 some. All righty. So anyway, today is November 11th. Today is show number 68. And I do not have a guest today. So it's going to be a short, an abbreviated show. I expect the monologue to last 20 or 30 minutes tops. And so I'm just going to kind of launch right into that. Now, what happened was earlier this week, my father asked me about one of the guests. It was Kristen O on Monday. And he really the conversation about spirituality came up. And then I talked to another friend yesterday, and he wanted me to define the spirituality part. And he says, is it some kind of a religion? And so anyway, that those two conversations really kind of triggered and got me thinking about what exactly is spirituality and what does that mean. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Oh, but first, let's just do a couple quick announcements on, I do not have a guest scheduled at this moment for tomorrow, so we'll see what happens. I'll go live and maybe do another monologue, maybe follow up on this one, but then on Friday, we have a guest, Jerry Potter, the 5-minute social media. And so if you are a solopreneur, a spiritual entrepreneur, a business person who uses social media to communicate your message, you want to listen to Jerry and learn what he's learned over the years in terms of how do you get control of the social media and use it in a way that is purposeful to your business. You can use it for your social, which we all do, but we want to use it. If it's a business tool, then you want to think about it differently. So that's a conversation we're going to have on Friday. And on Monday, Natalie Coleman will return to the American Gumption Show for, I believe, the fourth time. And on Wednesday, Nikki Roscoe next week is also going to return. And so Nikki will be probably, those two are the top number of guests. The top, they've been, I think they're both coming back for the fourth time. So anyway, but we're continuing the conversations that we've had with both of them, and they've been great guests, and I'm so appreciative. So that'll be Monday and Wednesday next week. All righty. So let's shift gears and let's get into today's monologue. And again, I say it's spirituality. Now, here's the Oxford Dictionary definition of spirituality: the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. So a concern for the human spirit or the human soul, and as opposed to material and physical things. And I like that definition. That's kind of my definition is going to be very, very similar to that. Now, Wikipedia's, they got their own slant and their own view on things. But I took their introduction, and I'd just like to share that with you because it brings up a kind of a nice history of, what spirituality has meant. It's meant a lot of different things. And so I'm just going to go ahead and read through this, and I'll comment, with each line or two, a little bit about it. So the meaning of spirituality has developed and expanded over time, and its various connotations can be found alongside each other. So spirituality has been this like evolving, definition or word or concept, and the various connotations can be found alongside each other, meaning there's a lot of overlap between these different meanings. And as meanings shift just slightly, it retains pieces of it, and maybe it emphasizes one thing a little bit more and then the other. So it's a really wide open idea. Let's just leave it at that for now. Now, traditionally, spirituality referred to a religious process or reformation which aims to recover the original shape of man, oriented at the image of God, as exemplified by the founders of sacred text of the religions of the world. So I definitely like the idea that the original shape of man, when we come into this body in this time and space, we are this spirit, and we come from some other world, and we enter this world, the physical world. And if we look at children, they are these little innocent beings and creatures, and so they come in as like original shapes. And the quest to regain that original shape is what the life pursuit. And if we all are made in the image of God, then that's what they talk about there. So I like that idea. Now, the third paragraph or third sentence, the term was used within an early Christianity. Let me start over. The term was used within early Christianity to refer to a life oriented toward the Holy Spirit, and broadened during the late Middle Ages to include mental aspects of life. So I was raised in the Catholic religion. The Holy Spirit was that, that was that kind of connection to the other realm, to a God. The Trinity, as we were taught to believe, but I liked that sentence because it said it broadened in the late Middle Ages to include the mental aspects of life, and that gets into what we'll call consciousness, and I'll discuss that in a minute or two. Now, the fourth line from this Wikipedia definition is: in modern times, the term both spread to other religious traditions and broadened to refer to a wider range of experience, including a range of esoteric traditions and religious traditions. So there certainly was a religious connotation, historically with it, and then it kind of broadened out to be, these other, like just say the American, Native American cultures and their traditions and their view of the way the world worked. And so there's all of these little groups of people who kind of come to the same conclusion. And I'll just say that conclusion is that we are, in this body, in this time and space and place, but we are connected to some other realm. And how do we, connect the two of those? And so all these religions, so there's the big major religions of the world today. We know who they are, and they have served many people in a fine way. And then there's all these like little tiny other things. And so which is the right, which is the truth? And I think that sentence talks to the fact that there's a whole variety of different ways of thinking about this, but they all kind of come back to the same idea. All right, now here's the last sentence. Modern usages tend to refer to a subjective experience of a sacred dimension and the deepest values and meaning by which people live, and a sacred dimension, often in a context separate from organized religious institutions. So yeah, I think that's, we all want to know what is the meaning of life. There it is. What is the meaning of life? So some ideas here, such as a belief in a supernatural beyond the known and observable realm, personal growth, a quest for an ultimate or sacred meaning, a religious experience, or an encounter with one's own interdimension. And that's what, Wikipedia says about it. It's like, it's been all over the board. It's referred to religions, but it kind of comes down to, in my idea, that okay, we're these beings, we have some type of a inner dimension, and we're connected to some kind of a wider outer dimension. And so, and consciousness is the way that we connect with it. So that's kind of getting to my idea of what this all means. Now, so I've come up with 3 bullet points summarizing what I just talked about from those definitions, but what does spirituality mean? And again, I'm trying to define this for myself. So this is, I'll call this version 1.0, and I'll reserve the right to amend it and go to 1.1, 1.2, and even 2.0 as my thinking clarifies around it. Because I had a sense and knowing of what it meant, but I hadn't been able to verbalize it and communicate it. So this is my first attempt at really trying to do that. So what is spirituality? So first thing I'm going to say is it's a concern for the human spirit, the mental aspects of life. It's a concern for the human spirit, our soul, and the mental aspects of life. Number two is it's consciousness. And we talked about this yesterday, the connection of the body, mind, emotions, and spirit, that inner dimension. So they, the body, the mind, the emotions, and the spirit all connected together that Lauren Archer and I discussed yesterday. And we'll just call that the inner dimension, but that falls under the heading of consciousness. So number one, human spirit. Number two, consciousness. And then the third is the connection of those two worlds. So you have this body, and we're living here, and then you have this other dimension, and how do you connect those two? And that's really what, to me, that's what spirituality means and what it stands for. And that's what the American Gumption, at this moment in time, version 1.0 of what spirituality means is really those three things. It's a concern for the human spirit, the mental aspects of life, consciousness, the connection of that, body, awareness of the body, mind, emotions, and spirit, or the inner dimension. And then finally, the connection of those two worlds. So, the one world, the physical world, and then the spiritual world. All right. So what is spirituality not? So this is what it does not mean to me. And this is what I do not, advocate or talk about on this show. It's not a religious process. It's not a connection to any organized religion. And it's not a focus on the material or physical things. And that last one, I don't think that's quite as important so much to say, but the original Oxford Dictionary definition said the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. And so, it's really, we're not focusing on getting more stuff or how to have more things or how to, our lives are we've had a whole couple of generations of filling up with things and stuff. And I think many of us have come to the conclusion that those things don't make us happy. And so having more things, while addictive in the collection of them, doesn't necessarily make for a happier, more fulfilled life. And so, it's really more of that, that human spirit that we're concerned with, and not the material or physical things. Now, having said all that, having kind of said what it is and what it isn't mean, people are welcome to join in here who do have a religious process or a specific connection, to a specific religion. And certainly, in my background, the Holy Spirit is the closest thing, that talks about it from Catholicism and where I came. It's like that. It's that spirit part of the spirituality is the Holy Spirit part. All right. And then there's a connection to the ancient text and the Bible, the Quran. There's many of the big texts that, we've been around. We know them, but then there's lots of other writings that people like Greg Braden have uncovered and translated and talked about in the work that he does and work that others do. And there's all these like little hidden meanings to that connection to spirit that these ancient texts have, along with the big texts like the Bible and the Quran in terms of how to live a good life, a more godly life. All right. And modern times, there's a range of esoteric traditions and religious traditions. I mentioned the Native Americans, but there's the Incas who had their own writings and certainly many writings over from the East and from the eastern part of the world. And again, these all have kind of very, very similar themes. And the work that Greg Braden has done is like, he's like, studied these things and found where the common denominators of all these things are. And I'm a student, beginning student, just learning about these things. And so, but I think it's important that I bring them up because those things all are influencing and not advocating any one, but rather learning from all of them. All righty. Now, spirituality gone wild. I want to take everything that I just mentioned and I want to bring that into how it fits in with spirituality gone wild. And now I'm speaking from my own personal point of view. This is not official policy of spirituality gone wild. This is not something that Debbie G and I have ever discussed specifically, but it's kind of like a general idea of what I believe it is, and I think it's I think there's going to be enough. It's going to be close enough that it's a good start, and I'm certainly more than happy to modify my thinking and my beliefs around what spirituality gone wild stands for as I go through this. And so anyway, our guest on, look at this here, Natalie, who is going to be our guest on Monday, coming back to the show. She says that we all have reserved the right to keep learning. So thank you. And we'll talk about this on Monday, Natalie. Thank you. See you then. All right. So I think spirituality gone wild, again, my broadcast partner, and there's their logo right there, spiritualitygonewild.com. We do all share a concern for the human spirit or the human experience. It's about making people's lives better. It's about giving people a way to connect with their own inner spirit, their own inner dimension, and improving their experience here in this, time and place in this body. So the physical experience we want to improve, and we want the inner experience to improve. Now, there's themes with it, and I'm going to just mention. I'm going to try to mention most of the hosts and the co-creators who are part of our wonderful network. And so I'm going to maybe forget some, and I'll apologize in advance for that. But in the area of health and wellness, that's certainly an overriding theme. And it can be both a physical health or a mental health. So that's what I'm saying, health and wellness. But Karen Palmer, one of the the original co-creative host, founder with Debbie G. Her brand is really the kindness revolution, kindness that she talks about. Debbie G's, her theme is gratitude. And Katrina Valancourt, one of our newer guests, is Ignite. Her show is called Igniting Compassion. So compassion, and she uses Love Smart cards to help people learn and to create more connection, more compassion, better communication with the people that they love. Joe Atalig, who was a guest in week number 1 on this show, does his Saturday morning broadcast, Love Wave Live. All of his guests have like this deep connection with love that they want to share, and they do share, and they're building their own communities, and he brings these people on and talks about it. So he's spreading the word of love with everybody. Another theme is recovery, and we have three different hosts that I can think of off the top, and if I'm forgetting one, but Drama to Dharma, Josie Herndon, she runs a recovery center. Safe Buxy from England, his show is all about his own experience with recovery and how he was an addict for, 30 years or more, and now he's committed his life to helping others in recovery. And TJ Woodward, his show is called The Recovery View, and I have not yet had a chance to speak with TJ, but the man is brilliant, and every time I hear him, I learn about it. And it's not just about sobriety. It's about living a life that is, fully engaged and going after what we want and helping ourselves and helping others. Now, spirituality gone wild has its own woo factor. Well, some people look at this and they go the woo woo. And I remember years ago, I heard that expression, and there was a friend of mine who she called herself the woo woo something girl or whatever, and like that, that's a little bit far out. People don't necessarily understand that, but that's part of who we are. And the woo factor is really the way I see it, a connection to source or a connection to the quantum field. And so it's that people who really take the one physical dimension, the human experience, and connect it with the spiritual world, the other side, that other realm. And so the woo factor are the people who work in that connection, in that portal to where one side connects with the others. And you can look at that and go, hey, this is too crazy for me. I'm not into that. Or you can go, wow, that's kind of cool. I don't personally have the ability to channel at this point. I do feel a connection, but doing it in the way that some of our host co-creators do, that's not my particular thing. But I just want to mention the Stream of David. I believe Wednesday nights, Josie Herndon again. She channels the Archangel Gabriel. Kristen Osley, who was our guest on Monday here, and who is also she has her own show on Monday nights, evenings. She channels directly to spirit. She gets that spirit source and communicates it right back and talks with people about it. So I like that. I personally think that's kind of fun, and I admire it. And so that's part of what we're doing here at Spirituality Gone Wild. It's not necessarily something that the American Gumption Show does, because that's not my skill and that's not my ability at this point. I don't even necessarily think that I want to evolve or will evolve into that, but it's certainly something that I enjoy. And I'm grateful to those people who have that ability to connect, again, this human experience that we have with the spiritual realm, the afterlife, the other side, as maybe it's called. All righty. Now, two last things I need to mention here about, again, this is all under the head category of Spirituality Gone Wild, is there's a music element to it. And I know there's at least two shows that are strictly connected with the music realm. And that's the Plow Zone, the two Scotts, Scott Plowman and Scott, and I apologize, Scott, the two Scotts, we'll leave it at that. They bring people on and they have music and they showcase their music. And music is really a connection right to the heart. And so that's I'm think it's wonderful. And I have my own interest in that sort of thing. And then Lighthouse Effects, Radiance Tyler, who's been a guest on the show twice now. Radiance does her show on Sunday evenings, and she often, talks to musicians, and that's the realm that she works in. That's the area, with, again, music and the creation of music, and knowing that it's something that's very personal and comes from the heart, comes from source. There's a connection to it. And so that's, again, part of this big, wide breadth of what it's all about. The last thing about Spirituality Gone Wild is there are partner organizations. And, Affinity is now a partner with Spirituality Gone Wild. Affinity has many people who come from around the world, and they have events, but they didn't necessarily have like broadcast shows day in and day out. And so anyway, it made sense for Spirituality Gone Wild and Affinity to connect more. And so these big events that they have, where people come, thousands of people come online and connect together, for these events. And so anyway, that's all happening. And then there's Peace on Earth 2020, David Gershon's realm. So, and there's more. And I apologize because I don't have them all. I just threw this monologue together fairly quickly. And I thought I wanted to just kind of paint a big, broad brush stroke of what spirituality is and what the Spirituality Gone Wild stands for. So just to summarize what Spirituality Gone Wild, like some of the main categories, I see it as it's a concern for the human spirit. That's what everybody is involved with Spirituality Gone Wild is concerned about, the human spirit. But then there's areas that they specialize in, health and wellness, recovery, There's the woo factor, and there's music, and then there's the partner organizations. So they're all coming together, and everybody has their own thing. Now, that's a great transition into American Gumption and the American Gumption Morning Show specifically, because I consider my show more of a variety show. I like to think that I'm a little bit of all of those things, and I'm not a specialist in any one of those things, but rather, I want to not dabble, but I want to connect and touch the different pieces. I have a lot of curiosity in my life. And so I want to learn, I want to learn from these other masters and teachers. And if I can bring those people onto the show and share the, their wisdom, then it allows all of us to learn and grow. And it allows me to learn and grow because every day is a learning experience for me. Alrighty, so what is American Gumption? And this is going to be kind of, again, a high level area. But like I said, it's a variety show. And I should say that when I started, I asked Debbie G, I said, well, Debbie, what should I talk? I mean, I didn't have any problem talking. So, but, you be polite and you go, hey, Debbie, what should I talk about? Figuring maybe she had an idea. And she said, hey, what do you want to talk about? She goes, this is spirituality gone wild. We don't have any rules here. And I think that, as long as it's not that there's not any rules, that's a little bit, but if you are in someone who has a consciousness or a spiritual, you're on your own spiritual journey and you want to be part of this organization, then as far as what exactly the way you interpret that, there's no one right or wrong. There's no, you got to follow this particular script. We're not an organized group that, says you have with a rule book and tells you what to do. So Debbie G opened the door and she said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to do a variety show. I want to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and talk about the whole thing. So that's the way this sort of evolved. And I'm grateful to our gratitude founder for just allowing me to, define what that meant. So the first thing I'll say is it's really, for me, it's about consciousness. It's my own development of awakening and awareness and realizing that my thoughts produce the life that I have. And so taking control and maintaining control of that, trying to be, get control of the subconscious programming that I've developed over the last 60 years and allow that to, better serve me going forward. That's my own personal journey. So that's kind of number one of all of the things that happen here is I like the story of consciousness better than any. And I like the physical health and I like the mental health and so everything that goes with that. All right. Number two is the quantum. I have a strong desire for this, the two worlds, how the two worlds connect, how this physical world that we live in today, the body here, and how the spiritual world that exists over here, and how do we connect with those things? And I believe that science and the quantum, the work that started with Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr and people like Dr. Joe Dispenza today are talking about in great deal from a scientific point of view. This makes a lot of sense to me. I like that. I relate to that. So the quantum is how I see that connection being made. And I like to refer to, rather than say the Holy Spirit, which was my Catholic upbringing, and people also say spirit, universe, the quantum field is kind of my preferred methodology or my preferred term that I use today. But universe, spirit, they work just as well too. Alrighty. And for me personally, and in this physical world and in the work that I've done professionally, it's really about communication and it's about change. That's what I'm interested in. So I have conversations not just about consciousness and quantum, but really my skill and my interest is in communicating and talking about change in people's lives. I've gone through a fair number of pretty radical change makeovers in my life where I said, I'm going to do this. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to move here. I'm going to go. And so I've kind of reinvented myself multiple times. And so I like that. I like talking about that. I like hearing people's stories about their own change. And so that's a common theme. Business and entrepreneurism is an interest in mine. And specifically the technology part. How do we use technology? So I have a guest, Jerry Potter, on Friday coming up. Talking about the 5-minute social media. And so how do you, it's a tool. Social media can be a tool. And I've talked to lots of other people about how we use the technology and the tools today to develop a better business and a life. But it's all, it all ties in with the consciousness thing and that, connecting with people. All right. And then global, global is important. And the 3 areas of global that I think I like to talk about, that I advocate for, are human rights. We all, these bodies that we're in, we're all connected in spirit to each other. And yet we're, these individual bodies, well, people all around the world deserve the same kind of rights. So I think that that's something we need to stand up for and advocate for. And the environment, we got to take care of this planet. We have to, make sure that our water and our air is clean, our oceans, the fish in the oceans, so this is a big thing. And how do we live in a modern world, and how do we protect what is going to sustain us over, generations? We could be selfish and worry only about like today and not care about future generations, or we could, have a concern for that future. So I certainly advocate that. And then, Peace on Earth 2030, David Gershon's group. This is if we raise the consciousness of the planet, then things will happen irregardless of elections and who our leaders are, because the people want to be free and the people want to live the way they want to live. And so I like this movement. This is all about it. And that's all under the global area. And then classic rock is something I've not done, but I have a music. Classic rock influenced me in a way that, it was like that foundation. And in 2014, I went back and I re-listened to all the songs that I had really used to listen to in the when I was like a teenager, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, that kind of time frame, that music. And that, I kind of replayed how that influenced my thinking and shaped my, who I am. So the goal is to add that element. That's not here today, but that's sitting out there. That's going to happen. And then everything that I've mentioned today is under the umbrella of Gumption. And that's really the 3 principles of Gumption: how you think, how you act, and how you interact with others. And then the movie life lessons, the feather represents the choices that we make, and the feather represents the opportunities that come into our lives. And the chocolate box, there it is, the chocolate box right above my head, that represents the choices that we make. And then the shoe is the journey of life, and the life chapters, and how we move from, chapter to chapter to chapter. So that is it. I'll just kind of summarize that American Gumption Morning Show. It's a variety show. Consciousness is kind of right at the top, self-awareness. That's at the top of, everything that I like to talk about. But then I like the science end of it. So the quantum, and that how our physical bodies connect with the other realm, the spiritual world. Communication and change are really what professionally I've dedicated my life to. As a hobby, business and entrepreneurism and technology is just like kind of one of those crazy things that I like to talk about. So I like having those people on, and we talk about that. Global issues, human rights, the environment, and peace on earth. And music, classic rock, we'll bring that element in. And then finally, again, the big picture, Gumption, 3 principles of Gumption, and the movie life lessons from the movie Forrest Gump. All righty. So that's it. Gosh, I've gone 37 minutes or no, 34 minutes because I started late. That's it. I'm going to get out of here. Have a great day, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow. Let's see. We had Bettina checking in. So Natalie says, I'm a fantastic advocate for spirituality gone wild. And she says she loves the background, the arrangement. Yes. Tamara Fleming helped with the background. So she did a great job there. And the only consistent in life is change. Thank you, Natalie. So we'll continue. You and I will continue this conversation on Monday. Thanks for tuning in today. All righty, everybody. Well, what a good, I'm glad that I had a chance to share that with you. It was, probably, I knew all of those things like in my heart, but I didn't know them in a way that I was able to express them. And so I think I'll need to tighten that up. And so today was like version 1.0 of describing that. And I look forward to getting the feedback from my fellow Spirituality Gone Wild co-host, co-creators, because we're all creating our own. We're all creating the future that we want to live in. And so we're all co-creating together here at Spirituality Gone Wild. All righty. Well, that's it, everybody. We will be back tomorrow. Have a wonderful Wednesday, and I will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, and 3 o'clock in the UK. All right. Have a great day, everybody.